In a story that sparked debate across the political spectrum and ignited outrage on social media, the case of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, a Maryland resident mistakenly deported and currently being held in a maximum security prison in El Salvador, has taken center stage in a broader conversation about immigration, justice, and political messaging in the United States. The background: Kilmar Abrego Garcia, a father from Maryland, was deported under the Trump administration in what legal experts now widely agree was a bureaucratic error. Garcia, who had no criminal record and was in the process of adjusting his legal immigration status, was swept up in a 2023 operation targeting undocumented immigrants with outstanding removal orders. Despite appeals, he was deported to El Salvador, where he was swiftly arrested by authorities and accused, without public evidence, of ties to organized crime. Garcia remains imprisoned at Zacatecoluca, El Salvador's notorious maximum security facility, often described by human rights observers as one of the harshest prisons in the Western Hemisphere. Senator Van Hollen's visit: Maryland Senator Chris Van Hollen recently traveled to El Salvador in a high-profile visit to meet with Garcia. The senator shared a photo on social media showing the two sitting at a plastic table surrounded by prison guards, a stark image that lit up the internet. The caption read, "Met with Kilmar Abrego Garcia today. He is alive and well. We continue to press for his return to Maryland." El Salvador's controversial president, Nayib Bukele, responded online with a sarcastic post mocking the international criticism of his prison system. Kilmar Garcia has miraculously risen from the death camps and torture chambers. Now he's sipping margaritas with Senator Van Hollen in the tropical paradise of El Salvador. The legal front. The U.S. Supreme Court recently issued an order compelling the federal government to facilitate Garcia's return to the United States, citing due process violations. However, the Department of Homeland Security and State Department under the Trump administration have not complied, arguing the matter is now in El Salvador's jurisdiction. "I don't think we violated a court order," said acting DHS Secretary Mark Whitman. "He's in El Salvador. That's where El Salvadorans live." Critics of the administration argue that Garcia, who was not born in El Salvador and maintains legal residency ties to the U.S., was never El Salvador's responsibility to begin with. The political divide: Van Hollen's visit has struck a nerve, both praised by Democrats and criticized by conservatives as a misplaced use of political capital. Media correspondent Sarah Fisher of Axios framed the visit as a symbolic but important gesture. "Democratic voters have been demanding action. This was about showing up. People want to know someone's watching, that someone cares." Others, including Tiffany Smiley, former Republican Senate candidate, saw it differently. A sitting U.S. senator flew across the world to meet with a man wrongly deported, and yet that same senator never even met with the grieving families of victims of crimes committed by undocumented immigrants, she said. That statement drew immediate controversy when Patty Moran, mother of Rachel Moran, a Maryland woman raped and killed by an undocumented immigrant in 2023, appeared on air to express her outrage. "To have a senator from my state who didn't even acknowledge my daughter's death go meet with someone who isn't even a citizen? Why does that person have more rights than my daughter?" Moran asked. However, news anchors quickly clarified that Garcia was not linked to that crime, nor does he have a criminal record. His wife has also denied any allegations of abuse or trafficking, despite some conservative pundits repeating unverified rumors online. The messaging war, the larger narrative, according to political analysts, is about how power is exercised and perceived. "This is about power and optics," said political strategist Nara Hawk, a former Obama White House official. "To a lot of Democrats, it's about restoring justice and protecting due process. To Republicans, it's about enforcing immigration laws and protecting victims, but it's all playing out in the same emotional and legal space." Even populist voices like Joe Rogan have weighed in, saying the administration clearly made a mistake in deporting Garcia and that the government should correct it. Trump's response: President Trump, when asked about Garcia in the Oval Office, deflected responsibility. "I've heard many things about him," the president said. "You'll have to speak to the lawyers. Let's find out what the truth is." His comment marked a notable shift in tone, more cautious, less combative, but did little to quell the outrage from both sides. What happens next? The case now rests in a tense legal and diplomatic limbo. The Supreme Court's order stands. El Salvador shows no sign of releasing Garcia. The U.S. executive branch appears unwilling to enforce the court's mandate. For Garcia's family in Maryland, the ordeal drags on. "It's hard not knowing what will happen next," said Mariela Garcia, his wife. "He should be home, he did everything right, and now he's in prison for being in the wrong file." Conclusion. As the 2024 election cycle heats up, cases like Kilmar Garcia's are becoming lightning rods, not just about immigration, but about governance, compassion, accountability, and how leaders choose to wield their influence. For Senator Van Hollen, it was about showing up. For the administration, it's about defending a tough stance on border control. For millions of Americans caught in between, it's a painful reminder of the human cost of political battles.